What if I told you? The reason you haven't attracted the love of your life isn't because you're not good enough. It's because you're trying too hard. Most people don't lose love because they lack beauty, money, or intelligence. They lose love because they don't understand psychology. In this video, you're going to learn exactly how attraction actually works. Not the fantasy version, not the fairy tale version, but the real psychological truth that determines who commits and who walks away. If you want the love of your life, this is where you start. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to love is thinking that the harder they chase, the more likely someone is to stay. They send endless messages, plan every detail, over-explain themselves, and constantly seek reassurance. And yet, the harder they push, the more distance they create. This happens because chasing communicates neediness, fear, and a lack of self-possession. The subconscious signal you're sending when you chase is, I'm incomplete without you. I can't function if you don't want me. And no one feels drawn to someone who places their entire sense of worth in another person's hands. Real attraction doesn't grow from desperation. It grows from wholeness. It grows from someone who knows their value, has their own life, and is not dependent on external validation. To start attracting instead of chasing, you need to shift your energy entirely. Attraction is magnetic, and magnetism comes from confidence, calm, and self-possession. When you are internally grounded, you communicate stability without saying a word. You don't need to prove anything. Your presence alone signals that you are someone worth choosing. People are naturally drawn to those who have a life that's full and interesting beyond the relationship. This doesn't mean being aloof or unavailable, but it means that your emotional world is not revolving around the other person. You are curious about them, you enjoy them, but your happiness is not contingent on their approval or affection. Chasing often comes from fear, fear of losing them, fear of being alone, fear that no one else will want you. But fear is a repellent, not a magnet. The more you chase from a place of fear, the more you push people away. When you instead cultivate an internal sense of security, the dynamic flips. Now, instead of running after them, you live fully, express yourself authentically, and allow them the freedom to come to you. This creates natural desire. Desire thrives on choice, space, and emotional balance. People are attracted to those who maintain boundaries, prioritize themselves, and do not bend endlessly to please another. Attraction is also built on subtlety. When you stop chasing, you create mystery. Mystery invites curiosity, desire, and investment. You stop being predictable and instead become a person whose life is vibrant, independent, and full of experiences that are not dictated by anyone else. When someone sees that you have your own purpose, that your joy does not hinge on their attention, they are drawn to your energy. And this is the fundamental difference. Chasing screams need, attracting whispers power. Chasing asks for love, attracting inspires it. Emotional self-control is one of the most overlooked skills in relationships, yet it is the foundation of true attraction and long-lasting connection. Most people think love is about passion, intensity, and constant emotional expression. But what they fail to realize is that emotions without control can quickly become chaos. When you react impulsively to every text, every withdrawal, every misunderstanding, you give your power away. You communicate instability, need, and dependence, even if you are deeply in love. True power lies not in suppressing your emotions, but in mastering them, in knowing how to respond rather than react, how to hold space for both yourself and the other person without losing balance. When you are emotionally controlled, you are no longer at the mercy of someone else's actions, and this creates a magnetic energy that draws people in naturally. The problem is that most people confuse emotional control with coldness or detachment. They think that if they don't show every feeling immediately, they are hiding something. But emotional self-control is not about hiding. It is about choosing when, how, and where to express your emotions. It's about being fully aware of what you feel, understanding why you feel it, and then responding from a place of calm rather than panic. This is what makes someone truly irresistible. People are drawn to those who are stable, balanced, and able to navigate emotional turbulence without losing their center. They feel safe and secure, knowing that the person they are with won't spiral into desperation or drama over minor setbacks. Emotional self-control also means resisting the urge to chase after validation, attention, or reassurance. It means not texting repeatedly when someone doesn't respond immediately, not overanalyzing every word, and not letting your mood swing based on another person's behavior. When you can hold your own energy, even in moments of uncertainty, you are demonstrating strength, maturity, and self-respect, qualities that naturally inspire desire. People unconsciously recognize and respect this energy. Emotional control creates space for attraction to grow because it allows desire, curiosity, and investment to develop naturally. Moreover, emotional self-control is a form of personal freedom. When you are in charge of your emotions, no one can manipulate you with their moods, actions, or words. You become the steady force in the relationship, the one who can weather challenges without losing yourself. This does not mean ignoring your emotions or pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It means acknowledging your feelings internally, processing them consciously, and then choosing your response thoughtfully. When you cultivate this skill, you move from being reactive to proactive, from needy to magnetic, and from dependent to empowered. Having high standards is not about being picky, judgmental, or unrealistic. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less than what you deserve. Many people think love is about compromise. At all costs, bending over backward to accommodate someone else and lowering their expectations to keep a relationship alive. But what actually happens when you do this is the opposite of attraction. You signal that your time, energy, and self-respect are negotiable. When you have high standards, you are communicating something far more powerful, that you value yourself, your energy, and your life, and that you are not willing to accept anything less than respect, loyalty, and emotional consistency. High standards are not a barrier. They are a filter that ensures only those who are truly compatible, committed, and capable enter your world. High standards also create high value because they demand effort, investment, and intentionality from others. When someone knows that you will not tolerate mistreatment, inconsistency, or emotional games, they are challenged to rise to your level rather than drag you down to theirs. Attraction grows when effort is required, when choices are deliberate, and when people know they must show up fully to earn your presence. The person who values themselves will never settle for half-hearted love, and that energy is magnetic. It creates a natural polarity where others are drawn to the confidence, self-respect, and clarity that radiate from someone who refuses to compromise on their non-negotiables. Setting high standards also means understanding the difference between what is negotiable and what is essential. It's not about controlling others or expecting perfection. It's about knowing your boundaries, recognizing red flags, and having clarity about the behaviors, values, and qualities that are fundamental to a healthy, fulfilling relationship. When you communicate these standards through your actions and choices rather than just your words, People naturally respond to the energy you project. They see that you are not desperate for validation, not afraid to walk away, and not willing to trade your self-worth for temporary comfort or attention. High standards are also deeply connected to self-respect. When you honor your own needs, desires, and emotional well-being, you set the tone for how others are allowed to treat you. Compromising on essential values only teaches people that your boundaries are flexible, and that can attract disrespect, inconsistency, and emotional unavailability. On the other hand, holding firm to your standards creates a sense of dignity, integrity, and personal power that naturally draws people who are capable of giving the same energy in return. One of the most subtle traps in relationships is confusing attachment with genuine desire. Attachment is often mistaken for love because it feels intense, consuming, and urgent. But what it actually reflects is fear of being alone, fear of losing someone, fear that no one else will want you. When you are attached, your emotions are reactive and conditional. You cling, overanalyze, and compromise yourself in an attempt to secure the other person's presence. Every withdrawal, every silence, every small sign of distance triggers anxiety, and suddenly your world revolves around someone else's behavior. This is not desire, it is dependency disguised as passion. Genuine desire, on the other hand, is grounded, free flowing, and choice driven. It exists because you are whole without the other person, yet you are naturally drawn to them because of the energy they bring into your life, not because you need them to complete you. Attachment often creates a cycle of chasing and retreating. One person becomes desperate for connection, while the other feels suffocated, leading to a push and pull dynamic that can feel intoxicating but ultimately erodes attraction. People caught in attachment prioritize security over chemistry, comfort over compatibility, and fear over curiosity. Desire thrives in freedom, in space, and in the sense that both people are choosing each other every day, not out of necessity, but out of genuine attraction and interest. When you operate from desire instead of attachment, your energy is calm, confident, and magnetic. You are present, engaged, and emotionally available without being controlling, clingy, or needy. The difference between attachment and desire also shows up in how you respond to challenges. Attachment reacts. It panics when distance appears, overtexts when clarity is absent, and sacrifices self-respect for temporary closeness. Desire observes. It assesses, it reflects, it maintains boundaries, and it chooses to engage in ways that honor both self and the other person. Desire does not depend on validation, attention, or reassurance. It is a conscious, empowered energy that attracts equally conscious and empowered people. People are drawn to someone who desires them without needing them because it feels rare, authentic, and compelling. Understanding this distinction requires deep self-awareness. You must be willing to question your motivations, to notice when your love is being driven by fear rather than choice, and to step back from relationships that are rooted in attachment. Only when you cultivate genuine desire within yourself by being whole, self-respecting, and emotionally independent do you create the conditions for a relationship that is magnetic, healthy, and enduring. Masculine and feminine energy polarity is one of the most powerful yet misunderstood forces in attraction. It's not about gender, roles, or stereotypes. It's about the way energy is expressed and received in a relationship. Masculine energy is defined by presence, direction, and certainty. It takes action, leads, and creates structure. Feminine energy is defined by flow, openness, and receptivity. It allows, nurtures, and inspires connection. When these energies are balanced and distinct, they create a natural magnetic pull that deepens desire and intimacy. Problems arise when both people operate from the same energy, or when one energy is forced out of its natural expression. For example, when a person with masculine energy becomes over accommodating, reactive, or anxious, they lose the very force that creates attraction. Similarly, when someone with feminine energy becomes overly controlling, critical, or independent in a way that mimics masculine energy, the natural polarity diminishes and desire begins to fade. Understanding polarity requires awareness of your own energy first. Are you leaning too heavily into the energy of control, certainty, or overfunctioning, or are you surrendering too much, becoming reactive and seeking validation? The key is not to suppress parts of yourself, but to cultivate balance. In relationships, masculine energy thrives when it feels needed, respected, and allowed to lead without resistance. Feminine energy thrives when it feels cherished, admired, and free to express itself fully. When each person occupies their authentic energy, there is a natural rhythm of push and pull, tension and release that keeps desire alive. People feel drawn to what they do not possess within themselves. This is why masculine energy is attracted to feminine energy and vice versa. It's a fundamental principle of attraction that operates on a subconscious level. Polarity also explains why relationships can feel stagnant despite love and compatibility. When the energetic roles blur, desire diminishes because attraction is a dynamic, energetic experience, not just a rational or emotional one. If both people act from the same energy, whether masculine or feminine, the relationship can feel friendly, cooperative, or safe, but it loses that electric tension that fuels longing. Reintroducing polarity doesn't mean rigid roles or pretending to be someone you are not. It means reconnecting with your natural energy, honoring your essence, and allowing the other person to occupy theirs fully. Desire grows when space, contrast, and respect for each other's energy exist, and it fades when confusion, imbalance, or overfunctioning dominates the dynamic. Understanding masculine feminine polarity is also about observing subtle cues in behavior, tone, and presence. It's in the way one person moves through the world versus how the other responds, the rhythm of engagement versus retreat, the way attention is given and received. When polarity is present, attraction flows effortlessly. Desire intensifies naturally, and the relationship deepens on both emotional and physical levels. Self respect is the cornerstone of every healthy relationship, yet it is often overlooked or misunderstood. Many people believe that love is about giving endlessly, compromising at every turn, or putting someone else's happiness above their own. But when self respect is absent, these acts of love often come with desperation, anxiety, and resentment. Without self respect, you unconsciously communicate to others that your time, boundaries, and emotional well being are negotiable. You may stay in situations where you are undervalued, tolerate behavior that is disrespectful, or compromise your values to avoid conflict. True love cannot grow in an environment where one person consistently sacrifices their dignity for the sake of connection. Self respect is not about ego or rigidity. It is about knowing your worth and honoring it in every decision, interaction, and boundary you set. It is the internal standard that ensures you never settle for less than what you deserve. When you respect yourself, you naturally attract respect from others. People instinctively respond to those who maintain clear boundaries, uphold their values, and demonstrate that they will not tolerate mistreatment. This does not mean you become unyielding or cold. It means you cultivate a presence that communicates integrity, confidence, and personal power. Self-respect allows you to love without losing yourself, to give without expecting constant validation, and to engage in relationships from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. The energy you project when you respect yourself is magnetic because it signals emotional stability, maturity, and authenticity. Others are drawn to it because it creates safety, trust, and desire, all essential elements for lasting love. A relationship built on mutual self respect is fundamentally different from one built on attachment or compromise. When both people honor themselves, they create a space where attraction, passion, and connection can flourish naturally. They do not compete for attention or validation. Instead, they meet as equals, each whole and capable of bringing their best self to the relationship. Conflicts are approached with calm, honesty, and clarity rather than fear or manipulation, and boundaries are communicated clearly without guilt or anxiety. Self respect also empowers you to walk away from situations that do not align with your values, which paradoxically makes you more attractive because people are drawn to those who know they will not settle for anything less than what they deserve. Ultimately, self respect is the foundation of love because it defines the quality of energy you bring to a relationship. It shapes the way you interact, the boundaries you enforce, and the standards you hold. Without self respect, attraction fades, desire diminishes, and love often turns into compromise or resentment. When self respect is present, however, it elevates every aspect of connection, ensuring that the love you give and receive is not desperate or conditional, but authentic, empowering, and deeply magnetic. At the end of the day, attracting the love of your life is never about chasing, pleading, or lowering your standards. It is about cultivating a version of yourself that radiates confidence, self respect, and emotional intelligence. When you stop giving your power away to fear, need, or attachment, you step into a space where genuine desire and magnetic attraction naturally follow. Every choice you make, from the way you honor your boundaries, to the energy you bring into interactions, to the standards you uphold, signals to the universe the kind of love you are willing to receive. Love is not won through effort or desperation. It is aligned through presence, self awareness, and authenticity. The person who will stay, who will cherish, respect, and desire you is drawn to the real, whole, empowered version of yourself, not the version that begs for validation, overcompensates, or sacrifices self worth. By mastering emotional self control, embodying high value energy, honoring polarity in relationships, and prioritizing self respect above all, you create the conditions for lasting, passionate, and fulfilling love. Ultimately, the love of your life is not about finding someone to complete you. It is about becoming the person who does not need to chase, does not compromise their worth, and attracts love effortlessly through presence, clarity, and integrity. When you embrace these principles, love no longer feels like a struggle. It becomes a natural reflection of who you are at your highest value,